Jearlyn Steele is a global musical performer. She performs with her family, the Steeles, as well as solo performances. Today, on My First Concert with Dave Lee, we recall her first concert. Also, Billy Scherer, a longtime singer-guitarist with the Johnny Home Band, and many years with the Fabulous Armadillos, where he still appears once in a while. Another magnificent musician who shares his first concert, and some other fun stories from both of them. Welcome to the Aquarius Home Services Studios, who bring you today's show, and also brought to you by our bank here at TalkNorth.com. And that is Star Bank, family-owned for all these years, with 10 locations now throughout Minnesota. Dave Lee here, along with music producer and producer of this show, Davide Rosso. We have spent almost the last year focusing on a number of Minnesota musicians, and these are two of the great ones. My friend Jearlyn Steele has performed with Carole King, Elvis Costello, Prince, and others through her wonderful career, which is as strong as ever, I might add. Her singing family grew up in Gary, Indiana, and it's from those days in Indiana that Jearlyn recalls her first concert.
First concert I attended was Earth, Wind, and Fire. I was 16 years old, and my sister Janice was going to the Indiana State University, and she loved that school, and the concert was there, and she called my mom and said, "Can Jearlyn come and see this concert?" And, of course, my mother, a staunch Christian one, was like, "No, absolutely not." But somehow Mom softened, and I had a chance to go. I cannot tell you how exciting. And this was the Pyramid album. Remember the Pyramid album for Earth, Wind, and Fire? So they came flying in. Yep. Oh, absolutely. I was so shocked that a concert that large, it must have been 2,000 to 3,000 students. I mean, it was so many people at this concert. And I just said, I want to do that. I want to be on the stage. I can't fly in because I know I can't handle that. We know our limits, darling. We know our limits. Yeah, but it was a remarkable night.
And it was a show.
It was a show. I mean, it was the best. I would say it's in the list of best concerts even today for me.
3 original members still in that band, who I just saw not long ago at Mystic Lake, and I'm shaking my head going, they sound like they used to sound. It's amazing.
Philip Bailey can still sing it all.
But nobody flew in. They just kind of came on.
They just kind of
slowly walked out on the stage. But, boy, they still had it. It's like we were talking about the Doobie Brothers. They still got it. I mean, they still sound terrific, and that's pretty amazing. I just don't know how singers like you keep the voice like you do. But let me ask you this. At 16 years old, were you already performing?
Oh, absolutely. My first concert with my siblings, I was 5 years old in a blue taffeta dress with curls in my hair. And we were opening for Mahalia Jackson.
Oh, my.
And, of course, I had no idea of the significance of Mahalia Jackson at that time at the age of 5. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
And so now when I go look back at that, I go, oh, my gosh, we did that? Really?
Where was that at?
That was in Gary, Indiana, at a place called the Barber Youth Center. And it was one of the largest centers there, other than one of the schools had a bigger auditorium. It was jam-packed. There were other choirs that sang. And I'll never forget my little sister at the time, Javita, who was 5 years older than her. And she was so small, and my mother was holding her. And Mahalia Jackson didn't have any children. And she walked over to my mother and said, "Oh, how blessed you are to have all of these children." Because my parents we have 6. It's 6 of us. That's a lot.
Were they singers?
My father and his siblings sang and actually recorded a 45. And it was gospel, and we still have that today. And my father played guitar, was kind of the leader of the family after getting past a really difficult time. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I think about that and I get very happy because you don't realize what it means at 5 to stand in front of who was considered the greatest gospel singer of all time. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, an icon. Even then.
So that story in itself always touches me. I look at the picture sometimes and, it's just really moving.
Jearlyn has a special sparkle in her eyes when she talks about working with Prince.
When we started working with Prince, that was a big, gigantic deal, to actually walk into Paisley Park and he's standing there welcoming us, and to have us be a part of a concert. And you look out in this stadium that's just gigantic in England, you're blown away by it. Let me just put it that way. And so there were times when I would walk in and just be in awe. I couldn't even say hello. People would walk. It was George Clinton and the Staples. It was Mavis Staples and her dad. Pop Staples. Yeah. We were all involved in this. And here are these. It was Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam, and everyone was around. And then there's Prince right there in the center. And all I could do was look at how fine he was. I couldn't even really realize that we were working with this man because I'm just looking, he's so pretty. Prettiest man in high heel shoes I ever met.
Was he vocal? Did he talk much?
Not at first, because he loved Javita's voice. And so Javita and JD worked with him first before the rest of us came on board. But oh my gosh, he fell in love with us. And there were times he would call us at 3:00 in the morning.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And just say, come to the studio. I got some songs. We get there. It'd take 20 minutes to do what he wanted us to do. And then he'd go, let's go up to the apartment and just talk. And we became family. It was really family. It was very special.
Yeah, he had the late night, early morning thing going, didn't he?
Yeah. Every day. I don't know how he did it, man. I don't know.
Every day. My buddy Julius was one of his security guys. And then he would always say, I get a call. Hey, I need you here at 2 a.m. And he'd go, okay.
Yeah.
Said, I just show up.
Yeah.
And it was just wacky hours. And you recorded with him.
We recorded with him. We have 4 gold albums and 1 platinum. And we were honored to be on those albums, just so honored. And so they hang in my mother's house.
Yeah. Jearlyn Steele was a fan of Prince's music before she knew him, as were her brothers. You were not, but you didn't, before he called you and said, hey, come on over here, how much did you pay attention to his music?
A lot, because my brothers loved his music.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah. A lot of it I didn't like. I asked him one time, I said, why do you have to be so bad with the lyrics to your songs? I don't understand why it has to be those type of lyrics, talking about a woman's body the way he did, like that song Cream. I said, why? Why do you have to be so bad? And he said, it's not that I'm so bad, it's that you're so good, Jearlyn. You're the Christian girl, so it doesn't make sense to you. But I'm not like that. That's what he said. Yeah,
but he became a strong Christian.
He did. Yeah. He was walking over North Minneapolis, going door to door as a Jehovah's Witness.
Well, we talk about you performing at the Dakota, which you're going to be doing with Fred here in
just a few days.
But I know that the Dakota, where we like to go and see shows, he used to just be up in the balcony.
And he was. We did a Valentine's Day show before he died at the Dakota, and he had one of his a woman that was working with him. He really wanted to grow her into this big star. And so the night before, he had decorated the Dakota. It was absolutely beautiful, flowers and drapes and just gorgeous. And he said to the management at the Dakota, keep this on stage for the Steeles. They don't know I'm coming tomorrow, but I'll be here. And sure enough, we get there, and it's like, oh, this is beautiful. Who did this? And one of the managers said, Prince said, leave it here for the Steeles. And there he was he bought out the whole balcony.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the balcony? Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
The upstairs area.
Yeah, that's where we usually end up sitting. So did you notice him during the show?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He was dead center upstairs. With gold, purple, and, beautiful hair flying. I said, oh yeah, I could barely pay attention. Going like this, I'm singing with Javita looking up. Singing with Javita looking up. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, because you got to crank your neck a little as a performer to look up at that balcony a little bit.
Yeah, but I cranked a whole lot that night. Let me tell you. Didn't mind at all, okay?
Check out the Steeles on Facebook, and you can find out more about where they are appearing. Traveling on the road, by the way, for musicians is probably a book by itself. But Bill Scherer, our next guest and a friend, shares a funny story, very funny story about that next on My First Concert. Speaking of longtime friends, probably a quarter of a century ago, that's when I became friends with Jeff over at Connecticut. And I was there when he began Aquarius Home Services. I remember that well. And I've been a customer of his since those early days, those first days. And so it's really easy for me to say, Dave Lee for my friends at Aquarius Home Services. You know, they say knowledge is power, but sometimes it's who you know that truly matters. And I'm grateful to know that team at Aquarius. Why? Because my home functions seamlessly with their help. They handle everything from electrical and plumbing issues to furnace repairs and installing new water heaters. Whether it's fixing flickering lights or ensuring my furnace is running smoothly, Aquarius always has me covered for all my home needs. And you too. Aquarius believes in earning the right to be recommended, and you'll find that out quickly when you work with them. Gosh, they're good. And you know what? They're just a click away at AquariusHomeservices.com. Bill Scherer is a remarkable musician, a longtime member of the Fabulous Armadillos, and before that, the Johnny Home Band. Bill sat down with us and talked about his first concert that he heard but did not see. He explains. You're a musician, you're a musician, but you were a music fan as a kid, so let's go back to your first concert. What was it?
You know, I've debated on this because actually the very first concert I ever saw and didn't see because I'm blind and was Channel 10 in Grand Forks, North Dakota, my hometown. Before it was Channel 11, used to do a TV show. I was about 3 or 4 years old, and it was called The Country Playboys, and it was later in the evening, and I used to beg my parents to let me watch it all the time. So they took me down to the studio, and I actually got to go see the show live one time when I was little. And I think it was on at like 10:30 at night. So that's truly my first concert, I think.
Well, that's a good memory, Bill.
Well, it just shows how far back, I go as a music crazy guy because I learned to sing harmonies with my sister because she was older than I am, and we'd sit and listen to the radio and sing along to all the songs, and we figured out the harmonies, and we were just crazy kids. But the first ones after that, I saw a couple of folk groups. I saw the Rooftop Singers who did Walk Right In, Sit Right Down, that thing.
I never knew that was the Rooftop Singers.
Yeah, the Rooftop Singers. And the Chad Mitchell Trio, who were a huge folk group. They were very political at the time. And, again, it was the harmony thing. So I saw those. But if we're going to go to the first rock and roll concerts.
Yeah, we are.
All right, let's see. I think one of the first ones, probably the first real rocker show, was the Guess Who in around 1970, 71, I think. It was right around the time of their Share the Land album. It was right after, what was his name? The guitar player. Oh, well.
Oh, Randy Bachman?
Randy Bachman. It was after he had left. And they were... And the opening band was Gypsy, who were from the Twin Cities. And they toured with the Guess Who, I think, for a couple of years, actually.
Wow.
And they were great. We saw them at the ever-echoing UND Fieldhouse in Grand Forks.
Yeah, not built for acoustics.
No, it wasn't. But my brother and I saw that show, and they were incredible. It was back in the days when everybody played their own instruments and they sang their own parts, and they sounded as good as the records. Travel
by musicians from gig to gig is a story all by itself. And if you're a musician, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Bill talks about transportation in the early years of his career.
And it was a lot of miles. I think we would do, if my memory is correct, we did 48 weeks a year, and they were 4 to 6 nights a week, and most of those were one-nighters.
Yeah, that travel schedule was crazy. How did you travel?
It varied. When I started, John had an old 1963 Cadillac limousine. It was a hearse limousine. so that's what we had when I first joined, and we'd pull a trailer behind it with all our gear in it.
Oh, hard to miss.
Yeah, and then after the limo died, then we had a car,
just like a lot of the passengers had, huh?
Exactly. There's a good story here. We were driving. We had two cars for a while. One was the truck that pulled the trailer, and then the other one was the truck that hauled the rest of the guys. And the bass player and I were in the truck one night and driving, and all of a sudden, Don looks out the window and he goes, "God, that trailer looks just like ours." And of course, it was ours. Come off, and it's just rolled right past us into the ditch. Yes. Yeah, we all lived through it, and the gear didn't get destroyed. We were all, I don't know how we got by with that one, because, jeez.
Oh, life on the road, man.
Yeah, we did lots. We had a number one hit in the number 100 hit in the country. Back in must have been about 78 or 79, Lightning Bar Blues, which was not one of our songs, was written by the guy who wrote Heartbreak Hotel, or his mom did. It was something crazy like that. But Lightning Bar Blues was other people had done it, but John fell in love with it. And here's the funny part. We're doing Lightning Bar Blues, but John didn't drink.
He didn't, huh?
No. Not at that time anyway. And so we...
Hoyt Axton, that's who that was.
Yes, yeah, that's who wrote it. It's Hoyt Axton.
He was just a great creative songwriter. His lyrics were always fun. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yes, I remember that song.
In fact, when John called to get permission for us to do it, he, thought he was calling the publishing company, and guy picks up the phone. "Hello?" John said, told him who he was, and he goes, "Is this Hoyt?" He says, "Yep, it is." So he just called Hoyt's house, evidently.
Hey, go to Apple or Spotify and check out episode 19 of My First Concert with Dave Lee to hear more of Bill, including a nugget about a member of Led Zeppelin playing the Maple Lake Pavilion in Mentor, Minnesota, before he became a rock and roll icon. It's a great story. Now, to learn more about banking from a family you will get to know, check out starbank.net. They are our bank here at TalkNorth.com. So that makes it quite convenient for us to tell you we like the way they do business. If you're hoping to expand your business or do some repairs this spring, look to Star Bank. Turnaround time on a loan with Star Bank is second to none. They handle any kind of loan, too, that you can think of. And with 10 locations around the state, it's convenient. Maybe it's that RV you've been thinking about, the boat, the camper, the ag operating equipment. They handle everything. And they are really good, successful bankers and people. So call your local Star Bank branch today, or better yet, I'd say stop in and meet them. Loans are subject to a loan application and approval. Starbank.net, member FDIC, and equal housing lender. Again, check out episode 15 for a longer conversation with Jearlyn Steele, and episode 19 for more with Bill Scherer on Apple, Spotify, Talk North, or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, personally, having just come back from a very long driving trip, these are really fun to listen to on the road if you have some travel plans, because their stories are so good. Appreciate your time here today from the Aquarius Home Services Studio, and also from your friends at starbank.net, with 10 locations around Minnesota. Thanks to music producer and our producer of this podcast, the pride of Basel, Switzerland, Davide Razzo. Reminding you, we're back next week with another episode of My First Concert with Dave Lee. Just subscribe, and we will talk with you next week.